Welcome to DreadTime Stories, where the shadows whisper secrets and the night holds tales that chill the spine. Are you ready to dive into the darkness? Let's begin. If you dare. The echo chamber. From the moment I set foot in the apartment, a peculiar sensation enveloped me, as though the very walls whispered secrets of a bygone era. The building, an ancient relic of the city's forgotten past, stood with an air of solemn dignity. Its corridors were shrouded in shadows, and the creaking floorboards seemed to groan under the weight of untold stories. I had moved to this new abode seeking solace from the chaos of the world, yet little did I know the chaos that awaited me within its confine. The first night, as I lay in bed, a faint murmur reached my ears. At first, I dismissed it as the wind playing tricks, but the whispers grew insistent, weaving through the air like a ghostly tapestry. The voices were indistinct, mere echoes of conversations long past. They ebbed and flowed, a haunting symphony that tugged at the edges of my consciousness. I strained to catch the words. They eluded me, slipping away like sand through my fingers. The echoes were relentless, a constant presence that gnawed at my sanity. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, I embarked on a quest to unravel the mystery of the echoes. I delved into the building's history, uncovering tales of joy and sorrow, love and loss. The walls had borne witness to countless lives, each leaving an indelible mark upon the fabric of the place. It was during one of my nocturnal wanderings that I stumbled upon a hidden room, concealed behind a tapestry of dust and neglect. The air was thick with an oppressive silence, and as I crossed the threshold, the echoes surged forth with a newfound intensity. The room was a time capsule, frozen in the moment of a tragic event that had transpired years ago. The echoes revealed fragments of a story, a love affair torn asunder by betrayal, a heart shattered beyond repair. The voices were those of a woman and a man, their exchanges laden with passion and despair. As I listened, a chilling realization dawned upon me. The echoes were not mere remnants of the past, but a living, breathing entity, feeding off the anguish that lingered in the air. With each passing day, the boundary between reality and illusion blurred. The echoes seeped into my mind, twisting my thoughts, distorting my perception. I found myself questioning my own sanity, trapped in a labyrinth of sound and shadow. Desperate for answers, I sought the counsel of a local historian, hoping to shed light on the enigma that plagued me. His eyes widened with recognition as I recounted my tale, and he spoke of a tragic event that had occurred within the very walls I now called home. A lover's quarrel, a life cut short, and the echoes of their final words reverberating through time. Armed with this knowledge, I returned to the hidden room, determined to confront the echoes and lay their restless spirits to rest. As I stood amidst the spectral cacophony, a sense of peace washed over me. The voices, once a source of torment, now seemed to whisper words of gratitude, as though my presence had granted them solace. In that moment, I understood that the echoes were not a curse, but a testament to the enduring power of love and loss. The apartment, with its haunted past, had become a sanctuary, a place where the echoes of the past could find their voice and be heard. As I write these words, echoes continue to weave their haunting melody, a reminder of the lives that once breathed within these walls. I find comfort in their presence, knowing that I am not alone, that the echoes of the past will forever be a part of my story. The last confession. In the dim light of the confessional, where shadows danced like phantoms upon the walls, I sat, cloaked in the solemnity of my sacred duty. The air was thick with incense, a fragrant veil that shrouded the sins of my parishioners. It was here, in this hallowed chamber, that I first encountered the voice, a voice that would unravel the very fabric of my soul. The confessions had always been a source of solace for me, a chance to offer redemption to the weary and burdened. Yet, one evening, as the church bells tolled the hour, a presence entered the confessional that sent a chill coursing through my veins. The voice that spoke was low and tremulous, carrying with it an air of malevolence that set my heart to racing. "Father, forgive me, for I have sinned," the voice intoned, each word a dagger that pierced the silence. The confessor spoke of unspeakable acts, of deeds so vile that they seemed to taint the very air with their darkness. I listened, my heart heavy with the weight of the sins that were laid bare before me. As the confessions continued, night after night, a sense of dread took root within me. The voice was familiar, yet elusive, like a specter that lingered just beyond the edge of my consciousness. I found myself drawn to the confessor's words, compelled to understand the depths of their depravity. In my quest for answers, I pored over the records of the parish, seeking any clue that might reveal the identity of the mysterious penitent. Yet the more I searched, the more the truth seemed to slip through my fingers, like a wisp of smoke in the wind. The confessions grew more disturbing, each revelation a descent into madness. The voice spoke of betrayal, of lives shattered and lost. It was as if the confessor reveled in the recounting of their sins, taking pleasure in the torment they inflicted upon others. Haunted by the confessions, I began to question my own sanity. The line between reality and nightmare blurred, and I found myself plagued by visions of the atrocities described to me. My nights were restless, filled with dreams of blood and despair. It was during one of these restless nights that a revelation struck me with the force of a thunderbolt. The voice, the sin, it was as if they were a reflection of my own darkest fears, a mirror held up to my soul. The confessor was closer than I had ever imagined. The sins were my own. The realization was a dagger to my heart, a truth too terrible to bear. I had become ensnared in a web of my own making, prisoner of my guilt and shame. The confessions were not those of a stranger, but the echoes of my own transgression, whispered back to me by the shadows of my mind. In the quiet of the confessional, I knelt, my soul laid bare before the Almighty. I sought forgiveness, not from the voice that haunted me, from the depths of my own conscience. The church, once a sanctuary, had become a chamber of horrors, a place where the last confession would be my own. As I write these words, the voice still lingers, a specter that haunts the recesses of my mind. Yet in the darkness, I have found a glimmer of redemption, a chance to atone for the sins that have bound me. The last confession is not the end, the beginning of a journey toward salvation. Forgotten Diary. It was a dreary afternoon when I stumbled upon the diary, nestled among the relics of forgotten lives in a dimly lit thrift store. The air was thick with dust, and the faint scent of mildew clung to the pages as I opened it. The diary's leather cover was worn and cracked, a testament to the passage of time. Intrigued, I purchased it, unaware of the dark path upon which it would lead me. The diary belonged to a woman named Eliza, whose elegant script filled the pages with tales of her life. Her words painted vivid pictures of joy and sorrow, love and loss. As I read, I felt an inexplicable connection to her, as if her spirit reached out to me from beyond the grave. Eliza's life was a tapestry of beauty and tragedy, woven with threads of mystery and intrigue. Her entries spoke of a growing unease, a shadow that loomed over her existence. She wrote of strange occurrences, of feeling watched, and of a presence that haunted her every step. As the days passed, I found myself drawn deeper into Eliza's world. Her fears became my own, her voice echoing in my mind. I became consumed by the diary, unable to escape its grasp. It was as if the pages held a power over me, bending the fabric of my reality to mirror her own. The more I read, the more the boundaries between her life and mine began to blur. I saw her face in my dreams, heard her whispers in the night. The diary was no longer a mere collection of words, but a living entity, shaping my thoughts and action. I became obsessed, driven by a compulsion to uncover the truth of Eliza's disappearance. Her final entries were filled with desperation, a plea for help that resonated within my soul. She spoke of a force that sought to claim her, a darkness that threatened to consume her entirely. As I delved deeper, the world around me shifted, the familiar becoming strange and foreboding. I felt the presence that Eliza had described, a chilling sensation that set my heart racing. It was as if the diary had opened a doorway, allowing the shadows of her past to seep into my reality. In my search for answers, I uncovered a chilling revelation. Eliza had vanished without a trace, her fate a mystery that had remained unsolved for decades. The diary was her last testament, a chronicle of her descent into madness and despair. I realized, with a growing sense of dread, that I was following in her footsteps, drawn inexorably toward the same fate. The diary was not just a record of her life, but a curse that ensnared all who dared to read its pages. In a final act of desperation, I attempted to rid myself of the diary, to break free from its sinister hold. Yet, as I cast it into the flames, pages refused to burn, the words etched into my mind like a brand. Now as I pen these words, I feel the darkness closing in, the shadows lengthening around me. The diary's influence is complete, and I am powerless to resist. I am haunted by the knowledge that I am not the first, nor will I be the last. Fall victim to its malevolent power. The forgotten diary has claimed me, and as I fade into obscurity, I leave this account as a warning to those who may come after. Beware the allure of the past, for its grasp is unyielding, and its secrets are best left undisturbed. The haunted heirloom. Upon the passing of my dear grandmother, I found myself the unexpected recipient of a peculiar family heirloom, a delicate, ornate mirror framed in tarnished silver. Its surface, though clouded with age, held an eerie allure that beckoned me to gaze within. Little did I know that this heirloom would become both a window to the past, a harbinger of my undoing. From the moment the mirror entered my possession, I felt its presence as a living entity, whispering to me from the shadows. It was as if the very soul of my ancestors lingered within its depths, waiting to reveal the secrets of their lives. My curiosity, a flame that could not be extinguished, compelled me to peer into its reflective abyss. The visions began subtly, mere flickers at the edge of my perception. Yet as I continued to gaze, they grew more vivid, more insistent. I saw my ancestors, their lives unfolding before me like scenes from a forgotten play. Their joys and sorrows, triumphs and tragedies were laid bare, tapestry woven with threads of time. At first, the visions were a source of wonder, a chance to connect with the past in a way I had never imagined. I witnessed the birth of my great-grandmother, the laughter of children long gone, and the tender embrace of lovers beneath a moonlit sky. But as the days passed, the visions took on a darker hue, revealing secrets that had been buried in the shadows of history. I saw betrayal and deceit, acts of cruelty and malice that stained the legacy of my family. The mirror, once a portal of enchantment, became a conduit for the darkest corners of the human soul. Each vision was a revelation, a glimpse into the moral decay that festered beneath the veneer of respectability. The more I watched, the more I felt the weight of these revelations pressing upon me, a burden that threatened to crush my spirit. The sins of my ancestors became my own, their guilt and shame seeping into my very being. I was haunted by their deeds, unable to escape the specters that clung to me like a shroud. In the solitude of night, the mirror's influence grew stronger, pull irresistible. I found myself drawn to it, compelled to witness the unfolding horrors, even as they gnawed at the edges of my sanity. The boundary between my life and theirs blurred, and I feared that I too would be consumed by the darkness that had claimed them. Desperate to break free, I sought the counsel of an antiquarian, hoping to uncover the origins of the cursed heirloom. His eyes widened with recognition as he examined the mirror, and he spoke of its history. A relic passed down through generations, said to hold the souls of those who had gazed into its depths. Armed with this knowledge, I resolved to rid myself of the mirror, to sever the ties that bound me to the sins of the past. Yet as I attempted to destroy it, the mirror resisted, its surface unyielding to my efforts. It was as if the souls within clung to their vessel, refusing to release their grip on the living. Now, as I pen these words, the mirror stands before me, its surface a silent witness to my torment. I am trapped in a web of ancestral guilt, ensnared by the haunted heirloom that has become both my inheritance and my curse. The visions continue, relentless tide that threatens to sweep me away. In this final confession, I implore those who may come after to heed my warning. The past is a shadow that should remain undisturbed, for its secrets are a poison that can never be undone. The haunted heirloom is a testament to the darkness that lies within us all, and its legacy is one of despair. The midnight game. It began as a lark, a mere diversion to amuse ourselves on a night shrouded in mystery and moonlight. We were a group of 5, bound by friendship and an insatiable thirst for the unknown. The midnight game, whispered about in hushed tones, promised to summon a spirit, a specter from the beyond. It was said to be a test of courage, a dance with the supernatural that few dared to attempt. The rules were simple, yet chilling. At the stroke of midnight, we were to light a candle and speak an incantation, inviting the spirit to join our gathering. We were to wander the darkened halls of the old mansion. Our only protection, the flickering flame, must remain lit until the game's end. Should the candle be extinguished, it was said, the spirit would claim us for its own. As the clock struck 12, we began. The air was electric with anticipation, the shadows deepening around us as we spoke the words that would bridge the gap between our world and the next. The candlelight danced upon our faces, casting eerie reflections that seemed to mock our bravado. First, the game was a thrill, a delightful shiver of fear that sent us scurrying through the corridors, our laughter echoing in the empty halls. But as the minutes ticked by, a palpable change descended upon us. The air grew heavy, and an unnatural chill crept into our bones. It was as if the very walls were closing in, their whispers a sinister lullaby that tugged at the edges of our sanity. It was then that we realized the spirit was no mere figment of our imagination. Presence loomed, unseen yet undeniable, its intentions shrouded in malice. Candle flames flickered wildly, casting grotesque shadows that twisted and writhed like tormented soul. Panic set in as one by one, our candles were snuffed out by an unseen hand. The darkness closed in, a suffocating shroud that threatened to swallow us whole. We were no longer players in a game, pawns in a sinister plot orchestrated by a malevolent force. In the chaos, we became separated, each of us lost in a labyrinth of fear and despair. I stumbled through the darkness, the echo of my footsteps a hollow reminder of my isolation. The spirit's presence was palpable, cold breath upon my neck, a whisper in my ear that promised eternal torment. Desperate to escape, I clung to the remnants of my courage, determined to see the game through to its end. I relit my candle, the small flame a beacon of hope in the encroaching void. With each step, I felt the spirit's grip loosen, its power waning as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon. As the sun's rays pierced the gloom, the spirit's hold was broken, its presence banished to the shadows from whence it came. We emerged from the mansion, shaken and scarred, our laughter replaced by a solemn understanding of the forces we had dared to challenge. The midnight game was no mere amusement, but a doorway to a realm best left undisturbed. We had danced with darkness and survived, but the memory of that night would haunt us forever. A chilling reminder of the thin veil that separates our world from the unknown. In sharing this tale, I offer a caution to those who would follow in our footsteps. The midnight game is not a test of courage, but a perilous gamble with forces beyond comprehension. To play is to invite the darkness, and the darkness does not easily let go. The last message. In the wake of my beloved's passing, a shadow fell over my existence, casting the world into a somber monochrome. The days blurred together, each one a reminder of the void left behind. It was during this time of mourning that I first received the message. A simple text from the phone of the departed, a device that should have been silent. The message, innocuous at first, read, "I miss you." My heart leapt at the familiar words, a bittersweet echo of the love we had shared. Yet, reason quickly asserted itself, and I dismissed it as a cruel prank or a glitch in the digital ether. But the messages continued, each one more unsettling than the last. They spoke of things only my beloved could have known, intimate details, whispered secrets shared in the quiet of night. I was haunted by these electronic specters, their presence both a comfort and a torment. As the days wore on, the messages took on a darker tone, hinting at unfinished business, truths left unspoken. Find the truth, one read, words a chilling command that gnawed at my soul. I could not shake the feeling that my beloved was reaching out from beyond the grave, urging me to uncover the mystery of their untimely demise. Driven by a need for closure, I delved into the circumstances surrounding their death, piecing together fragments of a puzzle that refused to align. The official account spoke of an accident, a tragic twist of fate, yet the messages suggested otherwise. A hidden hand, a sinister force at play. The investigation led me down a path fraught with danger and deceit. I uncovered secrets that lay buried beneath a veneer of normalcy, whispers of betrayal and malice that tainted the memory of my beloved. Each revelation was a dagger to my heart, a reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of our lives. The messages grew more urgent, their tone frantic and pleading. "Hurry," they implored, as if time itself were running out. I felt the weight of their desperation, a burden that threatened to crush me beneath its weight. In a final act of desperation, I confronted those who had stood to gain from my beloved's death. Their innocence, a carefully constructed facade. Truth once revealed was a horror beyond imagining, a conspiracy woven with threads of greed and envy, betrayal that had claimed the life of the one I held dear. With the truth laid bare, the messages ceased, their purpose fulfilled. I was left with a hollow victory, the knowledge of justice served tempered by the ache of loss that would never fade. My beloved's voice, once a source of solace, was now silent, their presence a lingering echo in the corridors of my mind. As I pen these words, I am haunted by the memory of those messages, a testament to the power of love that transcends even death. The last message was not one of despair, but of hope, a reminder that the bonds we forge in life endure beyond the grave. In sharing this tale, I offer a warning to those who would seek to unravel the mysteries of the unknown. The truth is a double-edged sword, and its pursuit may lead to revelations best left undiscovered. Yet in the end, it is the truth that sets us free, and the last message guides us home. The Dream Merchant. In the heart of the city, where the streets twisted like serpents and shadows lingered long after the sun had set, I stumbled upon a peculiar shop, a place that seemed to exist outside the bounds of time and reason. Its sign, weathered and cryptic, bore the name, The Dream Merchant. Intrigued and weary from the burdens of my waking life, I crossed its threshold, unaware of the nightmare that awaited me. The shop was a labyrinth of curiosities, filled with trinkets and artifacts that seemed to whisper secrets of forgotten worlds. At its center stood the proprietor, figure shrouded in mystery, whose eyes gleamed an otherworldly light. He spoke in a voice that resonated in the very marrow of my bones, offering dreams for a price, a chance to escape the mundane and embrace the fantastical. Desperate for respite, I accepted his offer, exchanging a small sum for a vial containing a swirling, ethereal mist. That night, as I succumbed to slumber, the dream unfolded before me, vivid tapestry of wonder and delight, a realm where my deepest desires took. I awoke refreshed, my spirit buoyed by the experience. Emboldened by this taste of the extraordinary, I returned to the Dream Merchant, eager to explore the limitless possibilities he promised. Each dream was more intoxicating than the last, a symphony of sensations that eclipsed the drudgery of my waking hours. Yet, with each indulgence, price grew steeper. Cost not merely measured in coin, but in something far more precious. It was not long before I noticed the changes, subtle at first, like a whisper at the edge of perception. My dreams began to bleed into reality, distorting the fabric of my existence. The boundaries between the two worlds blurred, and I found myself haunted by visions that should have remained confined to the realm of sleep. The dreams, once a refuge, became a prison, their beauty marred by a creeping darkness that seeped into my soul. I saw faces that twisted in agony, heard voices that cried out in despair. The dreams were no longer my own, but a malevolent force that sought to consume me. Desperate to reclaim my life, I confronted the dream merchant, demanding answers to the horrors that plagued me. He regarded me with a knowing smile, revealing the true nature of his wares. The dreams, he explained, were not mere fantasies, but echoes of desires and fears, drawn from the depths of the human psyche. Each indulgence came with a price, peace of one's very essence, surrendered to the shadows. I realized with mounting dread that I had bartered away fragments of my soul, leaving me hollow and adrift in a sea of nightmares. The dreams had become a parasite, feeding off my vitality, leaving only despair in their wake. In a final act of defiance, I resolved to break free from the dream merchant's grasp, to sever the ties that bound me to his cursed shop. I cast the vials into the fire, watching as the dreams dissolved into smoke and ash. Yet, even as the flames consumed them, I felt the lingering presence of their darkness, a shadow that would haunt me forever. As I pen these words, I am a shell of the man I once was, my nights plagued by the remnants of dreams that refused to die. The dream merchant's shop has vanished, leaving no trace of its existence, save for the scars it has etched upon my soul. In sharing this tale, I offer a cautionary warning to those who would seek solace in the realm of dreams. The allure of escape is a siren's call, and the price of indulgence is far greater than one might imagine. Beware the dream merchant, for his wares are a gateway to a darkness from which there is no return. The night market. During my travels, I found myself in a remote village, nestled in the shadow of ancient hills. The locals spoke in hushed tones of a night market that appeared only under the full moon, a place of wonder and dread, where desires could be fulfilled at a price. Intrigued and driven by a sense of adventure, I resolved to seek out this enigmatic bazaar. As the moon rose, casting its silver glow upon the landscape, I followed a winding path through the forest, guided by the faint sound of music and laughter. The air was thick with anticipation, and a chill ran down my spine as I emerged into a clearing bathed in moonlight. Before me lay the night market, a sprawling maze of stalls and tents, each one more curious than the last. The market was a cacophony of sights and sounds, a place where the ordinary and the extraordinary mingled. Merchants hawked their wares with fervor, offering trinkets and treasures that seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly light. Yet, beneath the vibrant facade lay an undercurrent of unease, a sense that the market was not merely a place of commerce, but a realm of dark enchantment. I wandered through the stalls, my senses overwhelmed by the array of goods on display. There were potions that promised eternal youth, mirrors that showed glimpses of the future, and baubles that glowed with an eerie luminescence. Each merchant spoke of the power and wonder their items could bestow, yet their eyes held a glint of something sinister, a warning unspoken. Drawn to a stall draped in shadow, I encountered a merchant whose presence was both captivating and unsettling. His eyes, dark as the void, seemed to pierce my very soul. He offered me a simple ring, its surface etched with intricate runes. A token of fortune, claimed, charmed to bring prosperity and success. The price, he assured me, was modest, a mere trifle in exchange for such a boon. Tempted by the promise of fortune, I accepted the bargain, slipping the ring onto my finger. Yet, as I did so, a shiver of foreboding crept over me, a whisper of doubt that I could not shake. As I left the market, the path back to the village seemed longer, the shadows deeper and more oppressive. The ring, once a symbol of promise, felt heavy upon my hand, its presence a constant reminder of the pact I had made. In the days that followed, I found that fortune did indeed favor me. Opportunities arose with uncanny ease, and my ventures prospered beyond my wildest dreams. Yet with each success came a shadow, a consequence that gnawed at the edges of my newfound prosperity. The ring's power was a double-edged sword, its gifts tainted by a darkness that seeped into my life. Relationships soured, Trust eroded, and I became a prisoner of my own ambition, ensnared by the very fortune I had sought. Desperate to escape the curse that bound me, I returned to the village, seeking the night market once more. Yet, under the full moon's light, the path eluded me, the market's entrance hidden from my sight. The villagers spoke of its transient nature, a place that appeared only to those who had not yet succumbed to its temptation. Now, as I write these words, I am haunted by the memory of that fateful night. The ring a constant reminder of the price I paid for my greed. The night market, with its dark bargains and sinister allure, remains a specter in my mind, testament to the folly of seeking fortune at any cost. In sharing this tale, I offer a warning to those who would seek the market's wares. The allure of its promises is a siren's call, and the price of its bargains is far greater than one might imagine. Beware the night market, for its gifts are a gateway to a darkness from which there is no escape. The unseen roommate. When I first moved into the old apartment, I was captivated by its charm, quaint relic of a bygone era, with high ceilings and ornate moldings that whispered of history. The rent was surprisingly affordable, and the landlord assured me that my roommate was quiet and kept to herself. Little did I know, the truth of those words would haunt me. The first night in my new home, I was lulled to sleep by the creaks and groans of the ancient building settling into the night. Yet, as the hours slipped by, I awoke to a peculiar sensation, a presence, unseen yet palpable, lingering in the shadows. At first, I dismissed it as my imagination, a trick of the mind as I adjusted to my unfamiliar surroundings. But as the days turned into weeks, presence became undeniable. I would hear soft whispers in the dead of night, feel a chill brush past me in the hallway, and catch fleeting glimpses of movement in the corner of my eye. It was then that I realized my roommate was not of this world. She was a spirit, bound to the apartment by some unfinished business, her essence woven into the very fabric, place. Her name, I discovered, was Eleanor, a young woman whose life had been tragically cut short. Despite the initial shock, I found myself drawn to Eleanor, her presence a comfort rather than a threat. We communicated in the quiet moments, her whispers a gentle melody that filled the silence. She shared with me fragments of her past, tales of love and loss, and a longing for closure that kept her tethered to this realm. As our bond grew, so too did my understanding of the danger that loomed. Eleanor's unfinished business was a dark secret, a shadow that threatened to engulf us both. She spoke of betrayal, of a life stolen by deceit and malice, and of a desire for justice that burned with an intensity that defied death. The more I learned, the more I realized that Eleanor's quest for vengeance could have dire consequences. Her presence, once a source of solace, became a catalyst for events that spiraled beyond my control. Strange occurrences plagued the apartment. Objects moved of their own accord. Lights flickered ominously, and a sense of foreboding hung heavy in the air. I knew that to help Eleanor find peace, I must uncover the truth of her demise and confront the darkness that bound her. My investigation led me to the building's history, a tapestry of secrets and lies that had long been buried. I discovered that Eleanor's death was no accident, but a calculated act of treachery by those she had trusted. Armed with this knowledge, I sought to bring the culprits to justice, to fulfill Eleanor's final wish and free her from her spectral prison. Yet, as I delved deeper, I found myself ensnared in a web of danger. Perpetrators willing to go to any lengths to protect their secret. In the end, it was Eleanor's spirit that saved me, her presence a shield against the malevolence that threatened to consume us both. With her guidance, I was able to expose the truth and bring about the justice she so desperately sought. As the sun rose on the day of reckoning, I felt Eleanor's presence fade, her spirit finally at peace. The apartment, once a place of shadows and whispers, was now filled with light, testament to the power of redemption and the enduring bond we had shared. In sharing this tale, I offer a reminder of the unseen forces that shape our lives and the courage it takes to confront the darkness within. The unseen roommate, with her tragic story and unwavering resolve, taught me that even in death, love and justice can prevail. The Lightkeeper's legacy. The lighthouse stood as a solitary sentinel on the rugged coast, its beams slicing through the fog like a blade. It was here, amidst the crashing waves and howling winds, that I found both solace and isolation. As the newly appointed Lightkeeper, I embraced the solitude, eager to escape the chaos of the world and find peace in the rhythmic dance of the sea. My days were filled with routine, tending to the light, maintaining the grounds, and recording the minutiae of each passing day in the logbook. Yet, it was during one of my routine inspections that I stumbled upon a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards of the keeper's quarters. Inside lay a weathered journal, its pages yellowed with age and filled with the scrawled entries of those who had come before me. As I delved into the journal, I was drawn into the lives of the previous keepers, their hopes and fears etched into the pages with a haunting clarity. The entries spoke of isolation and longing, of the relentless pull of the sea and the ever-present shadow of the lighthouse itself. But as I read further, the tone shifted, revealing a pattern of tragedy that had befallen each keeper in turn. The journal recounted tales of madness and despair, of voices carried on the wind and shadows that danced in the periphery of vision. Each keeper had succumbed to the darkness in their own way, their minds unraveling as the spirits of the past reached out from the depths to claim them. At first, I dismissed these accounts as the ramblings of troubled souls, their minds frayed by the relentless solitude. But as the days turned to weeks, I began to experience the same phenomena. A whisper in the night, a fleeting glimpse of movement in the corner of my eye. The spirits of the past were real, their presence a chilling reminder of the legacy I had inherited. Desperate to avoid the fate that had claimed my predecessors, I pored over the journal, seeking clues to the mistakes they had made. The entries spoke of a forbidden chamber deep within the lighthouse, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead was thin, and where the spirits held sway. Driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity, I resolved to confront the spirits and uncover the truth of the Lightkeeper's legacy. Armed with the knowledge gleaned from the journal, I descended into the bowels of the lighthouse, the air growing colder and more oppressive with each step. In the depths of the forbidden chamber, I found the source of the haunting, a relic of the past, a beacon that had once guided ships to safety, but now served as a conduit for the restless souls of the departed. Spirits, bound to the lighthouse by their unfinished business, sought only to warn me of the dangers that lay ahead. With this understanding, I vowed to honor their memory and break the cycle of tragedy that had plagued the lighthouse for generations. I dismantled the relic, freeing the spirits from their spectral prison and allowing them to find peace at last. As I emerged from the chamber, the air felt lighter. The oppressive weight of the past lifted from my shoulders. The lighthouse, once a place of shadows and despair, now stood as a beacon of hope, its light shining brightly against the encroaching darkness. In sharing this tale, I offer a testament to the power of redemption and the enduring legacy of those who came before. The spirits of the Lightkeepers, with their tragic stories and unwavering resolve, taught me that even in the face of despair, the light of hope can guide us home. Family portrait. On the death of my wife's estranged uncle, we inherited a sprawling estate, a relic of a bygone era, filled with the dust and echoes of forgotten lives. Among the many curiosities that filled its dimly lit halls, one item stood out, a large family portrait. Its gilded frame tarnished with age. The painting depicted generations of my wife's ancestors, their faces captured in solemn repose. Little did we know, this portrait would become the harbinger of our descent into madness. From the moment we hung the portrait in our sitting room, an air of unease settled over the house. The faces in the painting seemed to follow us with their eyes, their expressions inscrutable yet unnerving. At first, we dismissed it as a trick of the light, a mere illusion conjured by our imagination. But as the days passed, the changes became undeniable. Each morning, we awoke to find the faces in the portrait subtly altered, their features twisted into expressions of anguish and malice. The transformation was gradual, yet relentless, as if the painting itself were alive, subjects writhing in silent torment. The once dignified visages now bore the marks of some unspeakable horror, a grotesque tableau that filled us with dread. Driven by a growing sense of foreboding, we delved into the history of my wife's family, seeking to uncover the source of the painting's malevolent power. Our search led us to a long-buried scandal, a tale of betrayal and vengeance that had stained the family name. The portrait, it seemed, was a record of this dark legacy, curse passed down through the generations. As we pieced together the fragments of the past, the changes in the portrait grew more pronounced, faces contorting into grotesque parodies of human form. We felt the weight of the family's sins pressing upon us, an invisible hand that sought to drag us into the same abyss that had claimed those before us. The atmosphere in the house grew oppressive, the air heavy with the stench of decay and despair. Shadows lengthened and deepened, creeping across the walls like living things. We became prisoners in our own home, trapped by the very legacy we had inherited. In a desperate bid to break the curse, we resolved to destroy the portrait, to sever the ties that bound us to the past. But as we attempted to remove it from the wall, an unseen force held it fast, the canvas unyielding to our efforts. It was as if the spirits of the ancestors themselves resisted, determined to exact their vengeance upon us. In the end, it was my wife's courage that saved us. She confronted the portrait, speaking words of forgiveness and understanding, acknowledging the pain and suffering that had festered within the family for generations. As she spoke, the faces in the painting began to soften, their expressions shifting from rage to sorrow, and finally to peace. With the curse lifted, the oppressive atmosphere dissipated, the shadows retreating into the corners of the room. The portrait, once a grotesque reminder of the family's dark history, now stood as a testament to the power of redemption, the strength of the human spirit. As I pen these words, the portrait remains in our home, a reminder of the trials we faced and the bonds we forged in the crucible of adversity. The family portrait, with its tragic history and ultimate redemption, taught us that the past, no matter how dark, can be overcome with love and understanding. The Watcher in the Woods. We were a group of 5, bound by friendship and a shared thirst for adventure. Prospect of a weekend camping in the secluded woods promised an escape from the monotony of our daily life. The forest, with its towering trees and whispering leaves, beckoned us with the allure of the unknown. Little did we know, the shadows harbored a presence that would turn our escape into a nightmare. The first day was idyllic, filled with laughter and camaraderie as we set up camp beneath the canopy of ancient oaks. The air was crisp, the scent of pine mingling with the smoke of our campfire. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we gathered around the fire, our faces aglow with its flickering light. Yet as darkness enveloped the forest, an unsettling feeling crept over us, a sense of being watched by unseen eyes. Began with the rustle of leaves, a sound too deliberate to be the wind. We exchanged uneasy glances, dismissing it as the stirrings of nocturnal creatures. But as the night deepened, the presence became more palpable, an oppressive weight that pressed upon us from the shadows. The firelight cast long, wavering shadows that danced upon the trees, and in those shadows we glimpsed a figure, indistinct, yet undeniably malevolent. It lingered at the edge of our vision, a specter that seemed to shift and meld with the darkness. The realization that we were not alone sent a chill through our hearts, primal fear that gnawed at our resolve. As the hours dragged on, the entity's presence grew more insistent, its intentions unmistakably sinister. We heard whispers carried on the wind, voices that seemed to mock our fear and erode our sanity. The forest, once a sanctuary, had become a prison, a labyrinth of terror from which there was no escape. In our desperation, we resolved to confront the entity, to banish the darkness that threatened to consume us. Armed with little more than our wits and the feeble light of our flashlights, we ventured into the woods, shadows closing in around us like a shroud. The forest was a maze of twisted branches and gnarled roots, each step fraught with peril. The whispers grew louder, cacophony of despair that echoed in our minds. It was then that we saw it, a figure cloaked in shadow, its eyes burning with an otherworldly light. The watcher in the woods, a guardian of secrets long buried, stood before us. In that moment, time seemed to stand still, the air heavy with anticipation. The entity's gaze bore into us, a silent challenge that demanded our surrender. Yet in the face of such terror, a spark of defiance ignited within us. We stood our ground, refusing to yield to the darkness. With a final piercing cry, the entity retreated into the shadows, its presence dissipating like mist in the morning sun. The forest, once a place of dread, was now bathed in the soft light of dawn, the shadows banished by our resolve. As we returned to camp, the weight of the night's ordeal lifted from our shoulders, replaced by a sense of triumph and camaraderie. The watcher in the woods, with its malevolent gaze and sinister whispers, had tested our courage and strengthened our bonds. In sharing this tale, I offer a reminder of the darkness that lurks beyond the edge of the familiar, and the strength that lies within us to confront it. The watcher in the woods, a specter of fear and defiance, taught us that even in the face of the unknown, we have the power to stand together and overcome. The reflection. In the dim confines of my modest abode, I found myself increasingly drawn to the mirror. A simple, unassuming piece, hung upon the wall, its surface polished to a gleaming perfection. It was a gift from my late aunt, who had always spoken of its peculiar charm. Little did I know that this mirror would become the gateway to a horror that would unravel the very fabric of my existence. First, my fascination with my reflection was innocent enough. I would gaze into the mirror, captivated by the symmetry of my features and the depth of my eye. Yet, as the days turned to week, I began to notice subtle discrepancy, an unfamiliar tilt the head, flicker of movement that did not align with my own. The reflection, once a faithful echo of my every gesture, seemed to possess a will of its own. It lingered a moment too long, its eyes locking with mine in a gaze that felt both intimate and alien. I dismissed these anomalies as mere figments of my imagination, the product of fatigue and solitude. But as time wore on, the reflection's independence grew more pronounced. It would smile when I frowned, its lips curling into a knowing smirk that sent a shiver down my spine. I felt its presence even when I turned away, a constant companion that shadowed my every move. The realization that my reflection was no longer mine filled me with dread. It was as if a malevolent spirit had taken residence within the glass, its intentions shrouded in mystery. My nights were plagued by dreams of the mirror, its surface rippling like water, the reflection reaching out with grasping hands. Desperate to reclaim my life, I sought the counsel of scholars and mystics, hoping to find an explanation for the horror that had befallen me. Their words offered little comfort, speaking of ancient curses and spirits bound to mirrors, seeking to usurp the lives of the living. Armed with this knowledge, I resolved to confront the reflection, to banish the specter that sought to claim my identity. I stood before the mirror, my heart pounding with fear and determination, and demanded that it reveal its true nature. In that moment, the reflection's facade shattered, its eyes blazing with a malevolent light. It spoke without words, its intentions clear, a desire to escape the confines of the glass and take my place in the world beyond. The struggle that ensued was a battle of wills, contest between the corporeal and the ethereal. I felt the reflection's pull, a force that threatened to drag me into the depths of the mirror, trap me in a prison of glass and shadow. With every ounce of strength, I resisted, focusing on the warmth of the sun on my skin, the sound of my heartbeat, the essence of my humanity. The reflection's grip faltered, its form wavering like smoke in the wind. In a final act of defiance, I shattered the mirror, its surface fracturing into 1,000 shards that glittered like stars. The reflection's scream echoed in the silence, a sound of rage and despair that faded into nothingness. As the last remnants of the mirror lay scattered at my feet, I felt a profound sense of relief. The weight of the reflection's presence lifted from my soul. Yet, in the quiet moments, I am haunted by the memory of its gaze, a reminder of the darkness that lurks within the depths of our own reflection. In sharing this tale, I offer a cautionary reminder of the dangers of obsession and the thin veil that separates the self from the unknown. The reflection, with its sinister intent and haunting allure, taught me that true horror lies not in the supernatural, but in the depths of our own psyche. The ghostwriter. In the dim solitude of my study, I toiled night after night, my pen scratching feverishly across the pages as I pursued the elusive dream of authorship. Flickering candlelight cast long shadows on the walls, and the silence of the midnight hour was broken only by the rustle of paper and the soft sighs of my own frustration. It was during one of these lonely vigils that I first sensed the presence, a whisper in the darkness, a spectral hand guiding my own. At first, the words flowed effortlessly, a torrent of inspiration that seemed to spring from some wellspring deep within my soul. The prose was exquisite, the characters vivid and alive, and I marveled at the transformation of my humble manuscript into a work of undeniable brilliance. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, I began to suspect that the source of my newfound talent was not entirely my own. The presence grew more palpable, a shadowy figure that lingered at the edge of my vision, its essence woven into the fabric of my thoughts. It was then that I realized the truth. A spirit, ghostly muse, had taken residence within my study, its influence guiding my hand with a deftness I could never achieve alone. The spirit, I discovered, was none other than the ghost of a famed author, a literary genius whose works had captivated the world. In life, he had been a master of the written word, and in death, he sought to continue his legacy through me. I was both awed and terrified by this revelation, torn between gratitude for his guidance and fear of the unknown cost of his aid. As the spirit's influence deepened, the lines between my thoughts and his became blurred. The story took on a darker tone, infused with themes of madness and despair that mirrored the tormented soul of my ghostly collaborator. I felt his presence growing stronger, his voice a constant whisper in my ear, urging me to delve deeper into the shadows of the human psyche. With each passing day, the spirit's hold on me tightened, and I found myself consumed by an insatiable hunger to write, to create, to bring his visions to life. My health waned, my mind frayed by the relentless demands of my spectral muse. I became a prisoner of my own ambition, trapped in a dance with a partner I could neither see nor escape. It was then the true cost of the spirit's influence became apparent. Those around me, friends and acquaintances, began to suffer inexplicable misfortunes, their lives unraveling in a series of tragic events that defied explanation. It was as if the spirit, in its quest for immortality, demanded a sacrifice, a toll paid in the currency of human suffering. Desperate to break free from the ghost's grasp, I sought the counsel of scholars and mediums, hoping to sever the bond that bound us. Their advice was grim, warning of the dangers of meddling with forces beyond mortal comprehension. Yet, armed with their knowledge, I resolved to confront the spirit and reclaim my life. In a final, desperate act, I gathered the pages of my manuscript and cast them into the fire, watching as the flames consumed the words that had once held such promise. Spirit's presence wreathed in agony, its hold on me weakening as the pages turned to ash. As the last ember faded, I felt the spirit's grip release, its essence dissipating into the ether. The study, once a place of inspiration and torment, was now silent, the shadows banished by the light of dawn. Though I am free from the ghost's influence, the memory of our collaboration lingers, haunting reminder of the price of ambition and the dangers of seeking greatness at any cost. The ghostwriter, with his brilliance and his curse, taught me that true art is born not of possession, but of the soul's unyielding desire to create. Clock Tower. In the heart of our quaint and unassuming town stood an ancient clock tower, its spire reaching toward the heavens like a solemn sentinel. For generations, its rhythmic chimes had marked the passage of time, a comforting presence in our daily life. Yet as the autumn mists descended upon us, the clock began to toll at peculiar hours, its once reassuring melody now a harbinger of dread. First death was dismissed as a tragic accident. A young woman found lifeless in her garden, her face frozen in an expression of terror. But as the clock continued to chime at odd intervals, more lives were claimed, each death more mysterious than the last. The townsfolk whispered of a curse, a malevolent force awakened by the clock's discordant song. As a detective tasked with unraveling the town's darkest mysteries, I found myself drawn to the clock tower, its shadow looming large over the unfolding tragedy. The air around it was thick with foreboding, and I could not shake the feeling that the tower itself was alive, its gears and cogs turning with a sinister purpose. Determined to uncover the truth, I delved into the history of the clock tower, poring over dusty records and forgotten tomes. I learned that the tower had been erected centuries ago by a reclusive clockmaker, a man whose genius was matched only by his madness. He had poured his soul into the creation of the clock, imbuing it with a power that defied explanation. As I dug deeper, I discovered a chilling tale of betrayal and vengeance. The clockmaker, shunned by the townspeople and driven to despair, had cursed the tower with his dying breath, vowing that its chimes would toll for those who had wronged him. Each death was a fulfillment of that curse, a spectral hand reaching out from the past to exact its revenge. With each passing day, the clock's chimes grew more frequent, the deaths more gruesome. The town was gripped by fear, its people prisoners of a fate they could neither comprehend nor escape. I knew that time was running out, and that I must confront the darkness that lay at the heart of the clock tower. Armed with the knowledge of the clockmaker's curse, I ascended the tower's winding staircase, the air growing colder with each step. The chamber at the top was a labyrinth of gears and pulleys, their ceaseless motion a testament to the clockmaker's genius. Yet, amidst the machinery, I sensed a presence, a malevolent force that watched and waited. In the dim light of the chamber, I found the source of the curse, a hidden compartment containing the clockmaker's final creation, a pendulum inscribed with arcane symbols. It pulsed with an eerie energy, its power the key to the tower's dark legacy. With a resolve born of desperation, I dismantled the pendulum, shattering its hold over the clock. As the pieces fell to the floor, the air seemed to lighten. The oppressive weight of the curse lifted at last. The clock's chimes fell silent. Their reign of terror ended. As I emerged from the tower, the first light of dawn illuminated a town reborn, its people free from the shadow of the past. Clock Tower, once a symbol of fear, now stood as a monument to the resilience of human spirit. In sharing this tale, I offer a reminder of the power of forgiveness and the dangers of letting the past consume us. Clock Tower, with its tragic history and ultimate redemption, taught me that time, though relentless, can also be a healer if we have the courage to confront the darkness. The last train. In the dim glow of the station's flickering lights, I stood alone, clutching my ticket for the midnight train. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness, a silence broken only by the distant rumble of the approaching locomotive. It was an impulse that had brought me here, compulsion to board a train that seemed to exist outside the regular schedules, whispered about in the hushed tones of urban legend. As the train pulled into the station, its carriages loomed like specters in the night. I hesitated for a moment, a chill creeping down my spine. The doors opened with a mechanical sigh, beckoning me into their shadowy depths. With a sense of trepidation, I stepped aboard, the air inside heavy with the scent of age and neglect. The passengers were an eclectic mix, their faces obscured by the dim light. They sat in silence, their eyes fixed on some distant point, as if lost in a world beyond my comprehension. There was an otherworldly quality to them, a sense of displacement that set them apart from the living. As the train lurched forward, I took a seat. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels a hypnotic lullaby that threatened to draw me into its depth. Yet, as I observed my fellow travelers, a growing unease settled over me. Their faces were pale and gaunt, their expressions vacant, as if they were mere shadows of their former selves. It was then that I realized the truth. These were not ordinary passengers, but lost souls, bound to the train by some unseen force. They were trapped in a purgatorial journey, their destination shrouded in mystery and dread. The train, I understood, was a vessel for the damned, conveyance for those who had lost their way in life, and now wandered the tracks of eternity. Panic seized me as I grasped the gravity of my situation. I was a living soul aboard a train of the dead, and I knew instinctively that I must escape before it reached its final destination. The thought of being trapped forever in this spectral limbo filled me with a terror beyond word. Desperate for answers, I approached one of the passengers, a wizened old man whose eyes held a flicker of awareness. He regarded me with a knowing look, his voice a raspy whisper as he spoke of the train's origins, a cursed journey that ensnared those who boarded it at the stroke of midnight, offering no return. The only way to escape, he intoned, is to confront the past that binds you here, to find the courage to step off the train before it reaches the end of the line. His words resonated within me, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. I realized that the train was not merely a prison, but a test, a challenge to confront the shadows of my own soul and find redemption. As the train hurtled through the night, I searched within myself for the courage to face my own demons, to acknowledge the regrets and fears that had led me to this moment. With each passing mile, the weight of my burdens lifted, chains that bound me loosening their grip. In the distance, I saw the station approaching, its lights a beacon of salvation. With a final, desperate effort, I rose from my seat and made my way to the door, the resolve to reclaim my life burning within me. As the train slowed to a halt, I stepped off onto the platform, the chill of the night air a welcome embrace. The train with its spectral passengers continued on its journey, fading into the shadows from whence it came. In sharing this tale, I offer a reminder of the power of redemption and the courage it takes to confront the darkness within. The last train, with its haunting journey and spectral passengers, taught me that even in the depths of despair, there is always a path to salvation, if we have the courage to seek it. The Memory Palace. In my relentless pursuit of self-discovery, I found myself drawn to an experimental therapy, promising to unlock the hidden recesses of the mind. Memory-enhancing treatment that would allow me to traverse the corridors of my past with unparalleled clarity. The prospect of exploring the depths of my own consciousness was irresistible. Siren's call to which I eagerly succumbed. The therapy was conducted in a dimly lit chamber, its air heavy with the scent of incense and the soft hum of machinery. I reclined in a chair, electrodes gently placed upon my temples, as the therapist's voice guided me into a trance. Imagine your mind as a vast palace, she intoned. Each room a repository of your memories, waiting to be explored. As I descended into the labyrinth of my own mind, the world around me faded away, replaced by the intricate architecture of my memory palace. The rooms were familiar yet strange, each one a tapestry of sights, sounds, and emotions from my past. I wandered through them with a sense of wonder, reliving moments of joy and sorrow, triumph and regret. Yet as I delved deeper into the palace, I stumbled upon a door I had never seen before, a heavy, ornate portal that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. A sense of foreboding gripped me, but curiosity compelled me to turn the handle and step inside. The room beyond was shrouded in shadow, to air thick with an oppressive silence. As I ventured further, the darkness receded, revealing memories I had long buried, fragments of a past I had chosen to forget. The images were disjointed and chaotic, a montage of fear and anguish that clawed at the edges of my sanity. I saw myself as a child, cowering in the corner of a dimly lit room, the shadows stretching toward me with malevolent intent. I heard the echoes of whispered threats, felt the sting of betrayal and abandonment. These were memories I had hidden from myself, truths I had buried beneath layers of denial and self-deception. As the memories unfolded, chilling realization took hold. I was not the person I had believed myself to be. My identity, carefully constructed over the years, was a fragile facade, concealing the darkness that lay at my core. The therapy, intended to enlighten, had instead unearthed a truth too terrible to bear. Desperate to escape the nightmare of my own making, I sought to flee the memory palace, to return to the safety of the present. Yet the shadows pursued me, their whispers growing louder, their grip tightening around my heart. I was trapped in a prison of my own mind, a prisoner of the past I had sought to reclaim. In a final act of defiance, I confronted the shadows, acknowledging the pain and fear that had shaped me. With each step toward acceptance, the darkness receded, memories losing their power over me. I realized that the path to freedom lay not in denial, but in the courage to face the truth and embrace the totality of my being. As I emerged from the trance, the therapist's voice gently guided me back to the present, the memories of the palace fading into the recesses of my mind. I was changed, my understanding of myself forever altered by the journey I had undertaken. In sharing this tale, I offer a reminder of the power of memory and the courage it takes to confront the shadows of our past. The memory palace, with its hidden rooms and buried truths, taught me that true self-discovery lies not in the pursuit of perfection, but in the acceptance of our own flawed humanity. The witching hour. It began innocuously enough, a curious anomaly in the dead of night. I would awaken at precisely 3 a.m., the world around me shrouded in a profound stillness, the air heavy with an otherworldly charge. It was during these twilight moments, and the veil between the living and the dead seemed thinnest, that I first heard the whispers. First, the voices were faint, mere echoes carried on the breath of the night. Yet, as the nights wore on, they grew more distinct, forming words that resonated in the depths of my soul. I realized with a mixture of awe and trepidation that I had been granted a rare gift, the ability to communicate with the departed, converse with those who had crossed the threshold into the unknown. The witching hour became my sanctuary, a time when I could commune with the spirits and glean their secret. I was drawn to their tales of love and loss, of unfinished business and unfulfilled desire. Each conversation was a revelation, a glimpse into the mysteries of the afterlife that had long eluded the living. Yet, as my fascination grew, so too did my dependence on these spectral encounters. I found myself eagerly anticipating the witching hour, my days consumed by the promise of the night. Spirits became my confidants, their voices a balm for the loneliness that had long haunted me. But as the nights turned into weeks, a darker presence began to make itself known. Among the benevolent spirits lurked those with more sinister intentions, their whispers laced with malice and deceit. They spoke of vengeance and despair, their words a chilling reminder of the darkness that lay beyond the grave. I became ensnared in their web, their influence seeping into my waking life. The line between the living and the dead blurred, and I found myself haunted by visions of shadowy figures, their eyes burning with an unholy light. The spirits, once a source of solace, now threatened to consume me, their sinister agenda unfolding with each passing night. Desperate to break free from their grasp, I sought the counsel of those who had walked the path before me, mediums and mystics who understood the delicate balance between the worlds. They warned me of the dangers of my gift, the spirit's insidious desire to claim my soul as their own. Armed with this knowledge, I resolved to confront the malevolent spirits, to sever the ties that bound me to their dark realm. As the witching hour approached, I steeled myself for the battle to come, my heart pounding with fear and determination. In the depths of the night, I faced the spirits, their whispers a cacophony that threatened to drown me in despair. But with each breath, I asserted my will, drawing upon the strength of the living to banish the shadows that sought to claim me. As the first light of dawn pierced the darkness, spirits' hold weakened, their voices fading into the ether. I emerged from the witching hour, my soul intact, the malevolent presence vanquished at last. In sharing this tale, I offer a cautionary reminder of the allure and peril of communing with the dead. The witching hour, with its whispers and shadows, taught me that the boundary between life and death is not one to be crossed lightly, and that true peace lies in embracing the light of the living, the keeper of secret. In the quaint town of Eldridge, whispers of a sinister legend lingered like a persistent fog, shrouding the community in an air of mystery and fear. As a journalist with a penchant for uncovering the truth, I felt an irresistible pull to investigate the recent string of disappearances that had gripped the town in a vice of dread. The locals spoke in hushed tones of a figure known only as the Keeper of Secret, a shadowy guardian of the town's darkest truth. My investigation began with the missing persons, each one vanishing without a trace, leaving behind only a void in the lives of their loved one. The police were baffled, their efforts thwarted by an unseen hand that seemed to erase all evidence of wrongdoing. It was as if the town itself conspired to protect the secrets buried within its heart. Determined to uncover the truth, I delved into the town's history. By sifting through dusty archives and forgotten record, I discovered tales of betrayal and deceit, pacts made in the shadows and debts paid in blood. The Keeper of Secrets, it seemed, was more than a mere legend, a specter that had haunted Eldridge for generations, ensuring that the sins of the past remained hidden. As I pieced together the fragments of the story, I felt the Keeper's presence drawing ever closer, a palpable force that watched and waited. My nights were plagued by dreams of shadowy figures and cryptic whispers, my waking hours filled with the sensation of being followed. Town secrets were a living thing, and I had become ensnared in their web. My inquiries led me to the outskirts of Eldridge, to an abandoned estate that loomed like a sentinel over the town. It was said to be the Keeper's lair, a place where the walls themselves held the echoes of the past. With trepidation, I crossed the threshold, the air heavy with the weight of untold story. Inside the house was a labyrinth of dust and decay, its rooms filled with relics of a bygone era. As I explored, I felt the Keeper's presence grow stronger, a silent observer lurking in the shadows. It was then that I stumbled upon a hidden chamber, its walls lined with journals and letters, each one a testament to the town's hidden history. The Keeper, I realized, was not a single entity, but a lineage, a succession of guardians tasked with preserving the town's secrets at any cost. Each disappearance was a sacrifice, a sole claim to ensure the silence of the past. And now, I had become the Keeper's latest quarry, my quest for truth threatening to unravel the delicate balance that had been maintained for centuries. Desperate to escape the Keeper's clutches, I gathered the evidence I had found, determined to expose the truth, the worm. But as I made my way through the darkened halls, the shadows closed in, Keeper's presence a suffocating shroud. In a final act of defiance, I fled the estate, the weight of the town's secrets heavy upon my shoulder. As I emerged into the light of dawn, I knew that the Keeper's reach was long, and that my life would forever be marked by the darkness I had uncovered. In sharing this tale, I offer a warning to those who would seek to unearth the secret, the Keeper of Secrets, with its legacy of silence and sacrifice, taught me that some truths are best left buried, and that the pursuit of knowledge can come at a deadly cost. The abandoned asylum. Our adventure began on a moonless night, as my friends and I stood before the rusted gates of the old asylum. We were urban explorers, drawn to the thrill of uncovering the secrets hidden within its decaying wall. The building loomed before us, silhouette stark against the night sky, whispering tales of its haunted past. As we stepped inside, a chill crept over me. The asylum's corridors stretched endlessly, lined with peeling wallpaper and the remnants of forgotten lives. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and something metallic, a reminder of the suffering that had once filled these halls. Armed with flashlights, we ventured deeper into the labyrinth, our footsteps echoing in the silence. Further we went, the more I felt an unsettling presence, as if unseen eyes were tracking our every move. My heart pounded, but I pushed the feeling aside, eager to uncover the mysteries that lay ahead. In one of the rooms we found a chilling scene, a small chamber with strange symbols scrawled on the walls, and a rusted bed frame standing forlornly in the center. The air was heavy with despair, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. It was then that I heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible yet unmistakable, urging us to leave. Despite the growing sense of dread, we pressed on, uncovering more evidence of the asylum's dark history. Old medical equipment, dusty journals, and faded photographs told the story of the cruelty and neglect that had taken place within these walls. Each discovery was more disturbing than the last, painting a picture of a past steeped in horror. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, and I realized with mounting fear that we were not alone. Shadows flitted at the edges of my vision, and the air grew colder as a malevolent presence closed in around us. I called out to my friends, but they seemed entranced, their eyes vacant, as they wandered deeper into the darkness. Panic surged within me, and I knew we had to escape. I grabbed one of my friends, shaking him desperately. He only stared through me, lost in a trance. With no other choice, I turned and fled, racing through the winding corridors with the whispers echoing in my ears. I stumbled into a large hall, the moonlight streaming through shattered windows to illuminate the dust-filled air. It was there that I saw it, a shadowy figure with eyes glowing eerily, the embodiment of the asylum's tortured past. You cannot leave, hissed, to voice a chilling blend of sorrow and malice. You sought the truth, and now you shall remain. The ground trembled beneath my feet as the shadows reached for me with skeletal hands. I understood then the fate of those who had vanished within these walls, their souls trapped, bound to the asylum by the darkness that had claimed them. With a final surge of adrenaline, I sprinted toward the exit, the whispers turning to screams as I burst through the doors and into the night. As I stumbled away, the weight of the asylum's secrets pressed heavily upon me. I could still hear the whispers, still feel the eyes watching me from the shadows. The truth I had sought had come at a terrible price, and I knew that the spirits of the asylum would never truly let me go. In sharing this tale, I offer a warning to those who would seek to uncover the darkness of the past. The abandoned asylum, with its haunted halls and lingering spirits, taught me that some secrets are best left buried, and that the pursuit of truth can lead to a fate far worse than death.